Hello, happy 4th of July week, everybody. It is summer, and the summer of live is pressing on. We are so excited to be here today. It is July 2nd, Tuesday. And as I already mentioned, it's 4th of July week, which is why we're going on a Tuesday. I'm so excited today to be talking to who I'm talking to. We are in our Beyond Blogging month, which means we're talking about issues and skills and causes and everything outside of the direct blogging world here on the Summer of Live. And today we're talking about turning your passion into compassion and really taking the skills as a blogger that you've learned in this trial by fire that is learning how to blog, and how you're using those to better a cause that you're and to further a cause that you're committed to. And I've got two prime examples of that today. I'm going to introduce them. I've got Julie and Betsy. I love both of them. I'm friends with both of them. But I'm going to be formal here. Hello, Julie and Betsy. Welcome.
Hi, Jenny.
Thank you so much. Hi.
Okay, so I'm going to do the awesome intro for both of you because you both, I had to write it down because you both have so many great accomplishments and I didn't want to leave any of them out. So Betsy Eves is a Mediavine publisher. She not only runs her website, JavaCupcake, but she is also the Wounded Hero and Caregiver Program Director for Operation Gratitude. And that is an organization committed to forging strong bonds between Americans and their military and first responder heroes through volunteer service projects, acts of gratitude, and meaningful engagements in communities worldwide. Not only that, she teaches blogging to veterans, military spouses, and caregivers through her marketing and events firm, Be Creative Consulting, LLC. And then through her partnerships with nonprofits such as Dog Tag Inc. and the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, Betsy has been able to give veterans and caregivers a voice through blogging. Earlier this year, she teamed up with us at Mediavine to teach Blogging 101 in Washington, D.C. to Cohort 9 going through the Dog Tag Fellowship Program. Betsy, that's a lot of things. And your commitment to serving the military and their families is truly inspiring and one of the big reasons I wanted to have you on this week and to talk about this week. So could you tell us a little bit more about all of the things that I just said? There were a lot.
There was a lot, but you really hit the nail on the head when you talked about Operation Gratitude. I specifically serve the wounded hero and caregiver community. So what that means is wounded, ill, and injured service members and their caregivers, Operation Gratitude through my program gifts them with care packages. There's 5.5 million military and veteran caregivers in the world, and I'm hoping one day we'll get a care package into the hand of all of them. I am also a military caregiver. My husband was wounded in Iraq during his first deployment. And then Dog Tag Inc. is a fellowship program that I went to gain entrepreneurial skills. And that's where I took what I learned as a blogger into how can I translate that into doing more within my community, and started a consulting business that I now have where I go and teach about blogging to the military and veteran community. And then finally with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, I'm a caregiver fellow with Senator Dole, where she has been a huge mentor to me. Amber got to meet Senator Dole when she was out here in DC. And the foundation has kind of taught me leadership and strength and growth within the community and how to advocate for this community that I'm a part of. And Jenny, thank you so much for having me on Summer of Live. I'm super excited to be here.
I couldn't be more excited to have you. And I'm totes jelly that Amber got to meet Elizabeth Dole. We were all very jealous. Now, shifting gear, and I'll probably ask you more about her in just a minute, but I'm going to shift gears and introduce my other wonderful guest. I've also got the incredible Julie Deily with us today. She is the food photographer, world traveler, and unique voice behind the blog, The Little Kitchen. In addition to running that incredible blog, she's also the founder of the Good Cookies Food Bloggers Valentine's event, which is entering its 4th year in 2020. She raises money for Cookies for Kids Cancer, leveraging the power of the blogging community to raise funds for pediatric cancer research, which is the leading cause of death by children by disease in the U.S. And she brings awareness to where it's needed. Hello, Julie. Thank you for coming. Tell me a little bit about your wonderful cause.
Yeah, so Cookies for Kids Cancer was started in 2008. They started by baking 96,000 cookies for their first fundraiser. Yeah, it was amazing. Gretchen Witt and her husband, they had a son. He was 3 years old, and he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And they were trying to raise money for research to help him. And unfortunately, he passed away in 2011. And I was just looking online earlier, and he would have been 15 this past May. But yeah, so they've had the organization since 2008, raising funds for pediatric cancer research, because I always say, when I learned about this, that pennies on the dollar are actually put towards research for pediatric cancers compared to multiple dollars to adult cancers. It's really sad and it's heartbreaking. And, all of us know someone who's been affected by childhood cancer. All of us. So that's why it's so important to me. And I love that the food blogging community has come together and we raise money every year. And Mediavine is a matching sponsor, which I so appreciate.
We are pretty passionate to be and grateful to be able to be involved in both of the amazing work that you two do. Can we go ahead and start posting some of the links to the organizations that we just dropped, from Cookies for Kids Cancer to Elizabeth Dole Foundation to Dog Tag Bakery to all the things we just put. Karen Provost wanted to say hi, ladies, and thank you for all that you do. Karen, thank you for watching.
Hi, Karen.
Tina Stevens Brown says, hi, Julie.
Hi, Tina.
Deanna Hansen said, it's hard to hear you, Julie. I can hear you, but I'm not sure.
I'll bring my mic closer.
Oh, that's good. That's helpful. Yeah, thank you. Okay. And then Tina Stevens Brown said, my cousin survived childhood cancer, but my son lost his friend at the age of 10 to it. We're so sorry, Tina. That is just another great example of why we need the work that is being done and to continue supporting and doing more work. Okay, so this is going to be an emotional hour. We're going to be just talking. I'm just going to kind of be open and say, I feel my feelings. They do too. So we might be crying. It's okay. It's all right.
All right. Need to find the closest something to dab with.
I always have tissues. I don't know why. I'm going to use paper towel.
That's right. Just improvise. I have my son's socks, so that'll work, right?
Perfect. It's like smelling salts. Right? Put it under your nose and it'll snap you right out of it.
As real as can get, just saying, because you're using a sock.
It's so real. Okay, so you both kind of gave us a little bit about this, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about what led you to these causes. I know that Betsy's has a husband that was directly impacted by and is a wounded warrior. And then Julie, you mentioned having a friend, but can you talk to me a little bit about more personally what it is that led you to these causes?
Well, the previous incarnation of the Valentine's Day event was a cookie swap that I used to organize with another blogger. And the first year we did it, it was really just to create community among food bloggers. And we had thought, let's do a charity component the next year. And it was actually OXO, the brand OXO, that came to us and said, hey, you guys are sending cookies. There's this organization called Cookies for Kids Cancer. And I was like, this is perfect. This is amazing, Yeah. And then once the cookie swap kind of went away, I was just I felt like, because I think it was 4 or 5 years working with them. Maybe it was 3 or 4 years working with them. I felt like I was letting them down, not doing something else. I wanted to keep doing something. And I got on the phone with the cookies team and I said, what about a Valentine's Day event? And Gretchen told me that the memorial for Liam was held on Valentine's Day. And it's just so perfect. Yeah. So that's kind of what led me there. I have a middle school friend who her daughter has had childhood cancer and it's come back again. I have friends who have other relatives. And honestly, everyone knows somebody. And it's not, I don't want to say it's an easy cause to get people on board. But it is. It's like kids. Kids should not have to suffer at such a young age.
Totally agreed. And I would say, I had Betsy.
Sorry.
No.
It's summer vacation.
Okay. It's real. It's sock realness. I think really, I was totally shocked to find out that there's pennies on the dollar for peds. That is not a statistic that you hear. I know that it's the leading killer of children, but I had no idea that it was so disproportionate in the amount of research dollars that it received.
Yeah, and I would say I've heard this before, and I've kind of assumed because kids can't vote. So,
oh wow,
which is kind of sad and humbling at the same time, right?
I'd go ahead and say it's bullshit.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I agree.
Betsy, same question to you. Can you talk a little bit more about your involvement?
Yeah, so, I've been a military spouse since 2006-ish. My husband deployed for the first time in 2007. After his third deployment, things kind of changed for him in his life. He went from being a really dedicated soldier to kind of lost. The wars were winding down. He didn't know what to do next. And so he started drinking. He was hospitalized for suicidal ideations. And then the process of him transitioning out of the military because of his post-traumatic stress disorders, traumatic brain injury from IED explosions, and all the other trauma that comes along with that put me in this role as his caregiver. So kind of overnight, I was kind of thrown into this world of caregiving. And, it's a lot different than being a spouse or, a child of an aging parent. It's the person that you married is now a completely different person, and you're thrown into this role of caregiver. And through this process of figuring out my role in that, I found a community. And I blogged through almost all of it. I have a dessert blog, but I was writing about my husband's hospitalizations on my blog. And, I was kind of sometimes weaving in some recipes into it, but my readers were all on board with it. So my blog has always been based on being authentic. And so as my husband's medical conditions kind of stabilized, and we can lead a day-to-day life that isn't as crazy as it once was, I found myself naturally becoming an advocate for the community. And so when I was appointed as a Dole Fellow with Senator Elizabeth Dole, that was really the catalyst to show me how much of a leader I had become in the community. And then I like to bring in partners where things make sense. So I was naturally going back as an alumna at the JavaCupcake program, teaching the new fellows, the new service members about what I'm good at blogging. And so the synergy was already there. And I was like, okay, well, how can I bring in some more civilian partners? I like to do as much of that bridging of the military and civilian divide as possible. And so when Mediavine came in to help with that, it was like, this is amazing. This works out perfect. Mediavine is such an expert in the industry. And so it just has kind of like snowballed and organically kind of grown into my life's passion. And, I was doing consulting and just training for about 2.5 years. And then Operation Gratitude said, Betsy, you're the best caregiver we know. Do you want to, quit your entrepreneurial stuff and work for us and serve this community full time? And I said, absolutely, but I have to be able to, stay connected to my roots in the blogging community and continue my philanthropy and my activism. And they're like, 100% yes, we wouldn't want it any other way. So that's kind of the evolution. It just kind of all naturally just kind of evolved. And, my big thing is that a lot of military and veteran caregivers don't have the bandwidth emotionally or mentally to advocate for themselves. And so that now I'm in a space where I can do that for them. And I feel like I have to. I have to. I can do it, so I must.
Yes, that's incredible. I wanted to say, we wanted to say on behalf of all of us, thank your husband for his service. And then in addition, thank you for being a servant as well. We greatly appreciate all that in your work.
Thank you. And that's my husband in chat in the comments right now saying,
hey, David Deadcat Eves, thank you very much for your service. Sincerely, we greatly appreciate it. Okay, Tina Stevens Brown says, retired military spouse here. My heart goes out to you, Betsy. You are a warrior yourself.
Oh, thank you, Tina.
Tina's so sweet.
Yes. Okay, ladies, so that was beautiful and moving, and talking about your emotional transition and what your attachment is to those causes. And I think they're amazing causes, but hearing the personal story behind it just makes them even more moving and touching to all of us. But tell us about the evolution, kind of the nuts and bolts that you went from being a blogger to being a fundraiser and an advocate, and how that path kind of took. I'm assuming that, Betsy, you did not start JavaCupcake necessarily with the idea that you were going to be doing the work you're doing, nor Julie did you start the little kitchen with the idea that was going to be where you go. So Julie, will you start and tell us a little bit about that path that you walked to become this, and how your blog kind of moved into that direction?
So I started volunteering in high school, and I found a passion for helping others and volunteering. And I realized, in some of the places I volunteered at, there were a lot of people that were retired. And I kept thinking to myself when I was in college and later on, I was until I retired to volunteer, So even before I started blogging, I was volunteering as an adult. And then I used to have another blog, and I actually did like a 3-day, 60-mile walk for breast cancer. My maternal grandmother and my aunt are both survivors, and I blogged about that. So like Betsy said earlier, my blog is authentic to me. I'm only going to share stuff that I love and things that I care about. So it's really easy. And so writing about stuff that I care about isn't really foreign to me. And it's like, this is what you get. And if you don't like it, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I didn't mean I was going to go that way, but like, it's true though. Like, we connect with other bloggers when I read a blog of things that they care about. That's how we find common ground. Right. And so that's the evolution. I feel like if anyone wants to do that, they should just share about what they care about. And not
That's the new tagline, Julie. Share what you care about.
I really, really, really love that. Like, feel like that needs to be something that could be the start of a movement right there. Yeah. Very much true. Because the truth is, people don't. I mean, if you want just a recipe, get a cookbook.
Mm-hmm.
If you want.
And by the way, my dog is crying. I don't know why she's crying. Come on in here. Bring your toy.
We're all crying. Everyone's crying. I've already cried once.
I didn't know if you could hear it, but she's just sitting at the door crying.
She's feeling the vibes that we're all getting out.
Here, honey.
So same question to you, Betsy.
So my blog, JavaCupcake, started out as a hobby. During my husband's first deployment, I was still finishing up college. And so I used it as an opportunity to kind of fill time. That was in 2009-ish. And so it kind of naturally evolved over time to something that brought in a little bit of passive income. Sure. But what I found was that it was a community builder. And I found that even through sponsored work and running ads on my site, the connections that my blog was making was more important to me than the blogging itself. Mm-hmm. So the evolution happened really naturally. When my husband retired in 2016, I was like, okay, what am I going to do with my blog next? I'm going to quote unquote take it to the next level, whatever that means in blogger world. Like whether we're going to quit our jobs and do it full time, or we're going to open a bakery or going to write a cookbook. I was like ready to figure out what's next. Well, the what's next for me actually ended up being the blog was going to take a back seat, and I was going to turn everything that I had learned to do as a blogger, from writing to website creation to graphic design to SEO to everything I learned from Mediavine, and then kind of wrap it up in a little package and share that with the community. And that's really how it all started. It was through the dog tag program where we went through a thing called Finding Your Voice, and I figured out that I didn't want to be a full-time blogger anymore. But that doesn't mean that I wanted to give up my blog either. And I think that that's okay. I think I can still have my blog, not do it full-time, not make a full-time income from it, and still be successful at it. So that, back in the day, the evolution was you start doing it in your spare time as you're work full-time somewhere, and then you can quit your full-time job and you're a blogger full-time. But I feel like I did the opposite, right? Yeah. Now I have a full-time job and my blog has become a side thing. And I think that if that works for me, then that's great. It just it's just a different evolution. And so I really am thankful for those 10 solid years I had as a full-time blogger to give me the tools I need now to teach and advocate for the community through blogging and helping others find their voice as well.
I mean, yeah, run your own race, I think, is kind of the moral. We always tell people not to compare RPMs. And I think that's very much the truth. Also, don't compare paths and journeys, because everyone's is very unique to themselves.
Exactly.
Agreeing on that.
Dorothy Winkler Alacan says, incredible life stories and such important work that you do.
Thanks, Dorothy.
Yeah. And Kimberly Brown says, this is so insightful. We love hearing these things. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Those are both military spouses
okay.
from my community. And Dorothy's actually lives 2 doors down from me. So I'm super excited they were able to hop on this and watch with us today.
Thank you so much, ladies, for tuning in and for all the amazing work that you do at home. And we appreciate it. So what makes bloggers and the blogging community uniquely positioned to raise funds for charity and research and advocate for change. How did you guys, because you turned platforms, you said building that community, and I want to hear how specifically that community served for the different, in the two different arenas that you're both serving in.
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with community. As bloggers, we're bridge builders, right? We're making connections with every blog that we post. So whether it is we're sharing a recipe or we're sharing a life story, there's somebody out there that's going to have some kind of reaction to it. So what makes bloggers uniquely positioned is what they do with those connections, right? And how they can harness the power of those connections to do good. And I feel like Julie and I kind of both have done that in both the different realms that we're in through our food blogs. And, you know, it's finding those organic connections and those organic synergies. And then once you find that, you jump on it and you make it happen, right? So it's as basic as that.
Do you have a specific example of one of those organic synergies? I'm putting you on the spot, but is there something that was a one-to-one example that made you go, boom?
I mean, to be honest, like the biggest thing that comes to mind is the Mediavine connection. I mean, it's just one of the most recent, but you know, I have learned so much as being, not just being, you know, somebody who runs you guys on my website, but being in the Facebook group and having access to your staff and their knowledge base. You know, the connection to me was like, all right, you guys are the experts in this industry. You know, how can I utilize your skills to help my community? So I do that everywhere. You know, I was in Tampa, Florida last week for the Department of Defense Warrior Games, and every other organization was there, was like, okay, how can we synergize together to help our community? So it's just really every turn you take, every new person you meet, using that opportunity to network with them, find out what they're about, find out how you can help them and how they can help you, and work together to better the community.
And before we move to Julie, we were talking about this just a little bit before we started, but tell us what those Warrior Games are, because they're so incredible. I want to hear more about them.
So the Department of Defense puts on every year the Warrior Games. It's basically the Olympics for wounded, ill, and injured service members. This year, there were 350 athletes from the United States, Canada, Denmark, Australia, the UK, and the Netherlands that came together to compete in 14 different games over the course of about 10 days. And I was there with Operation Gratitude to, Tina, your husband and son were there helping out. That's great. So Operation Gratitude was there to support the families that were there to support their athletes. Next year, it will be in San Antonio. This time next year, in June of next year, and we'll be back there again. And actually, you know, Jenny, this leads into kind of one of the things we're going to talk about down the road of this conversation, but there will be opportunities for our blogging community in San Antonio to get involved when I do come there, or in any of the other cities that I come to, but we'll leave that little nugget for later.
I always have to be on my toes with Betsy because she will jump me on the questions because she's so savvy with her. She'll jump ahead of me. I remember the first time I interviewed Betsy was in California at Google, and I was like, okay, I'm asking that in like 2 minutes. Will you just for like a hot second and let me get there? Same question to Julie. Julie, talk about how you felt that being the runner and proprietor and conceiver of the little kitchen led you to this path, and how the blogging community is uniquely poised to help.
Well, a lot along the same lines that Betsy was saying, it's like we built our platform and our community, and it's just an easy fit for us to advocate for the charities that we believe in, honestly. Just because you're sharing a food product or a brand or something that you already like, and organically, I think it comes out of an organic place when you share a charity or a cause that's near and dear to your heart. And I think that bloggers don't realize how much they have in their toolkit that they've developed over the years. You have communication skills, you have marketing skills, you have these like, you know, you're an art director, you're a photographer, you're a photo editor, you're a writer, you're an editor. You can put these skills to work to help an organization or help somebody out. And it's just putting ourselves out there and helping others. And I think that's really important. Paying it forward. Like I said earlier, don't wait till you're retired to volunteer. Volunteer now, you know. And along the lines of what Betsy was saying, I read an article a long time ago about networking, and they called it connectors. So Betsy's like a connector. when someone says, oh, I've got a problem or I'm dealing with something, oh, I know a blogger who's done this before, and you should talk to her because she's totally solved that problem. Or an organization that needs help, and you just meet somebody who says, I know how to do this and I'm looking for a job. Like, you just connect people. And I think that that's even more important than networking. Because sometimes I guess networking has like a dirty word or whatever. And to barking. Hey.
Well, I mean, networking can come off as kind of scary sometimes because, it's you think of it in a big office setting or conference or something where you're being forced to network. But really, it's just about knowing yourself well enough to present it to others in, we call it elevator pitch. And that 30-second elevator pitch about yourself, your brand, your personal brand, not just your blog brand, but your personal brand, and what you're advocating for will get you in the door with almost anybody.
Absolutely. And I think Julie just pulled a Betsy and jumped me, because my next question was to ask about what specific tools that you have gotten in that toolbox from the vast amount of blogging experience that you have you found the most helpful beyond just networking and beyond just communication and connecting? From photography to social media to writing to what are the skills that you found the most?
Can I also speak to that? Is that you also don't, if you don't feel comfortable yet sharing, if you don't share a lot of personal stuff on your blog, you can always use those skills to volunteer for an organization. Like, go to an organization and say, hey, I know social media. I can help you build up your account. And this would get your nonprofit out to the community even more. So you could be like a social media manager, volunteer for organizations. It's great for your resume, but also you're helping. You don't have to publicize everything that you're doing either. That's the other thing, so I just wanted to throw that in there.
Wait, pause. You don't have to put everything you're doing on social media.
Actually,
Betsy, same question to you.
Yeah, as I was hearing Julie talk about it, I was thinking of the same things. I started my consulting business based on the skills that I learned as a blogger. And so I took, how do you take event photos using your smart camera is one of the things that I learned as a blogger. You take food photos everywhere, right? So I turned that into a workshop for, other small businesses and nonprofits, because they're out at events, they can't hire a photographer, but they want to be able to take good pictures, so you come in and bring a few props and lighting and show them how to bounce light and all those things. And you show them how to utilize the tools that they already have. But I only knew that because of the 10 years that I had practicing it as a blogger, right? So I have not had any formal training, per se, but that doesn't matter. I still consider myself to be good at taking camera phone pictures, right? So any aspect of what you do as a blogger could potentially be turned into something else that you do to help your community, whether it's for, a small business or a nonprofit, or maybe it's for your kid's school, right? Maybe you're really good at graphic design and you go to the PTO and say, hey, can I help you with newsletters? Or whatever you feel confident in at your blog, you can turn that into something where you're giving back to your community.
I love that. So Kimberly Brown, is she 2 doors down for you, or is that the other amazing?
Dorothy is 2 doors down from me.
Okay,
Yeah.
Kimberly said she loves to write in her free time, so this topic is very interesting to her. Tina said, and Betsy called attention to it, but my hubby and son were there helping out at the Warrior Games in Tampa. And then Karen has a great question that we're actually going to talk about later, but we can go ahead and talk about it now. She said, how do you raise money for the charity? And do you have a link to the charity on your blog? So that's kind of a larger question. So I'm gonna kick into that.
Do you want to talk about how I structure the Valentine's Day event, and then maybe that'll give her some ideas?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the way it's structured is bloggers sign up to receive notification when registration is going to happen. And so I just try to get as many bloggers to sign up. And what they do is they sign up and pay a registration fee. And that registration fee is a direct donation to Cookies for Kids Cancer. I take no money for this event. And then I also go to brands to get them to be matching sponsors. So we try to raise at least $3,000 is the minimum right now. Wow. And, Mediavine has been a matching sponsor. So if we raise $3,000, Mediavine donates $3,000. So that's kind of like our push, like, hey, everybody, we need to raise this money. And I've had 3 brands, usually at least 3 brands. So it makes it $12,000. And what we do is on the same day, we post a recipe. And I'm hoping this in 2020 to bring on crafting bloggers too. So any kind of Valentine's Day themed craft or Valentine's Day themed recipe doesn't have to be a sweet or a cookie. And we're all going to share that blog post on the same day and ask our readers to donate. And I give them the link ahead of time so they can put it in their post. If they want to send it to their email, their email list and ask or whatever, or tweet it or ask people to see or share on social media. And then we push for about a month to raise enough money to get all of our matching donations. And I'm hoping next year I would love to have at least 4 or 5 sponsors. Yeah. So that we can have our matching even more, because we've been able to help raise over $76,000 in the last few years. So I love that. It's awesome.
That's incredible. Okay, so we just had the link posted for your Valentine's event if you want to be notified when that registration opens. So everyone on there, and you also have that link on your blog, don't you, Julie?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
You have to participate in Julie's events. I've done them. They're so much fun. And I really encourage everybody to be a part of it. It's a really easy way as a blogger to participate in a giving back, to the community. It's really easy. It's one of those organic kind of things that we're talking about. You're already going to do a Valentine's Day post. You might as well do one that's going towards something that's positive and will make a change.
100%.
Cookies for Kids Cancer, their main avenue of fundraising is for people to hold events, especially bake sales around the country. And we've had some bloggers who have participated in the Valentine's Day event over the years do their own bake sale in their town.
That's awesome.
And it's so amazing. Yeah.
That is amazing. Okay, Betsy, same question to you.
So I don't necessarily link for my blog to these places because I'm kind of all over the internet anyways. So if anybody wanted to find me or what I'm doing, it's not difficult to do. However, Operation Gratitude, we go into communities nationwide and we bridge that civilian military divide by creating community events. We do that. I'll give you an example. Just last week in Albuquerque, New Mexico, our team was there in a donut mart delivering care packages to 30 wounded service members and caregivers, but the community was also there to do that delivery. And at the same time, there was a volunteer event going on where they could make paracord survival bracelets, which will go in packages for deployed troops, and also writing letters of support. And that's a big one. Yeah. So within Operation Gratitude, if you ever wanted to write a thank you letter to a deployed service member, to a wounded, ill, or injured service member, to a caregiver, to an active duty service member, you could do that through Operation Gratitude. And we collect them at our warehouse in California. We have a team that goes through them and make sure that they get into the correct care packages. And that's something that you can do in your kid's school. You can have letter writing campaigns in your kid's school. You can do it in your offices. And we also have the large-scale assembly days that we do along the country as well. So there's things from letter writing, little, all the way up to big assemblies of these care package events and everything in between. So there's all kinds of opportunities, and all those are listed on our website, operationgratitude.com. One final way that you can help with Elizabeth Dole Foundation is that I'm going to continue doing webinars to help the military and veteran caregivers find their voice. So if there are any other Mediavine bloggers that would like to participate with me doing that, similar to what I did with Amber in person, but it would be on online format similar to this. I can continue teaching with Julie. Is that you? I'm going to continue teaching, and so I would love to have other bloggers be a part of that. And that's another really easy way to share what we know about blogging with a community that needs that support to tell their story.
Where should they reach out, Betsy?
For the blogging, you can email me, or you can, hit me up on Facebook. It doesn't really matter. Susanna can drop my email address in the Betsy@JavaCupcake.com in the comments. And if anybody that's interested, just start a conversation with me and we'll get it going. I'm really open to that. Like I said, that synergy, that the ease of things, just making it happen.
I love it. Okay, Karen Provost says, that sounds great, Julie. I will need to watch the rebroadcast to get the steps of how to do the fundraising. It sounds quite doable. Would you ever think about posting a checklist of how to run a blog charity event?
Oh, that's a great idea.
I like that.
Because I have a lot of stuff that I use. I use Google Docs and stuff. I try to be really organized. But yeah, I'll try to do that, Karen.
I am shocked, Julie, that you use a lot of tools and are technical and organized in the way that you go about this.
So Julie got me hooked on some of this too, listening to her speak at a Mediavine conference. So thank you, Julie.
Yes, you're welcome, and I'm sorry.
Let's drop in. We put all, so every time Julie spoke at the Mediavine conference in 2018 at Google in Sunnyvale, and she spoke about her top tools, and she comes from a technical background but also has the creative side, which helps her to bridge the gap between those of us who aren't so technical. So so every Mediavine conference session gets put onto our YouTube channel at some point, so let's drop in Julie's tools section, or tools speech session, into our comments. And then, speaking of speakers at Mediavine conferences, Betsy is going to be speaking at our Austin event coming up in November.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Yeah, we're very excited. Amira Martin just said, I'd love to participate. Amira, I always do that. And I doubt myself right before I do it. And it's one of those things where I have a mental block. I'm so sorry, Amira. She'd love to participate. Betsy, she's an AF veteran here.
Yep.
So
send me an email. Let's do it.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Let's get it done.
Know each other. Yeah, totally.
I love that. Okay, Karen says, thank you. Tina says, I think Julie may be one of the most organized people I know.
I'm just gonna let you in a little thing. I use a little app that makes my camera a little bit smaller so you don't see the mess around me. So yeah.
You are organized. Okay. So for people who are out there getting inspired, and I think there's a lot of them, what advice would you give a fellow blogger who wants to help as you have? What steps do they need to take? Who should they contact other than the two of you? And just basically, how do they get started with building their own empire?
I think the first thing is determining what the need is in your community. So you can have a great idea, but if there isn't a need for that idea to be fulfilled, then it's really not going to be successful. So I learned that as an entrepreneur early on, that you can have a lot of great ideas, but if there isn't a need for your community, then it's not going to be successful. So figure out what that need is, right? And then determine what skills do you have to help with that. I mentioned, earlier, are you good with graphic design? Help your PTO. Is there a VFW nearby where you can, call them up and see if they would like your extra, whatever you made for your blog that week. Do they want the extra food or the USO? There's just really find the need within your community and see how your skill set can fulfill that need.
Excellent. Julie.
I love what Betsy said, but also at the same time, it's like that little Venn diagram of the need, and then drawing that little circle, and then the other circle is what you're passionate about, and what you care about. Because what we do is we get into something and we burn out really fast if it's not something that we really, really care about or are really passionate about. Yeah. It's something that people make us feel like we have to do something, it needs to be something that you're really passionate about. Maybe start out by writing a list of things that you really, really care about and what you talk to your family and friends about. Is there some situation or a cause that you can't stop talking about or thinking about? I mean, that you got to harness that and grab it and go. And then, I mentioned before, charities and organizations are always looking for volunteers, and you can offer your blogging skills, your SEO skills, your photography skills, your social media skills, your amazingness skills, You just never know how you can help using your skills to help them get more exposure in the community.
I'll give you an example of another blogger that I know of, Kristen Doyle of Dine and Dish. Yes. She lives in Kansas, and she works at her local kind of food kitchen. So her love of food brought her to her local food kitchen. But I've seen her volunteerism and that grow, and she's been able to use her blog and her platform to garner support for her local community in that way. So for her, it was a mix of both, Julie, kind of that center area that you're talking about, her passion for food, but her passion for helping others kind of came together at that event. So, I see bloggers finding those things within their communities, and, burnout is a real thing, right? It can be a real thing. We're all bloggers. We know how it is, but, I avoid the burnout. Sorry for moving forward, Jenny, but it's just kind of a natural progression. I avoid the burnout by doing things that I feel like is not work, right? So I decided that I didn't want to create new recipes anymore because that felt like work to me.
Yeah.
So, instead I'm revamping old posts and working on SEO, organically kind of going forward one by one recipe at a time and not feeling overwhelmed. But then that gives me time to focus on helping the community, my advocacy and philanthropy, and really feel passionate about that. And that doesn't feel like work at all to me. I'm going to go with this path that I'm on now until I feel like I can't do one or the other anymore. And then that'll be okay. I will switch gears again, and maybe I'll be blogging again full time, or maybe I don't blog anymore. But kind of knowing myself and knowing that it's okay to decide for myself what works for me, right? So right now, not blogging full time, working on activism. Okay, that's great. Go for it. And so I think knowing yourself is key, and knowing what makes you happy is key.
It's sounding like a lot of the advice that you ladies are giving is in order to be of true service to others, you've got to be in service to yourself to begin with, and that you can't pour from an empty cup. Mm-hmm. So I think that knowing yourself and being honest with yourself is a good step about all that. And I also wanted to recommend, shop around charities. That's kind of sounds weird. If there's not an instant move, these connections that people find, go and try some out, see what happens, see what really resonates.
Can I share a story too? I went to a local nonprofit and I saw on Instagram they really needed a lot of help, and we had a couple of meetings, and we kind of just dropped off. We just were not meeting in the middle, and they weren't getting what I was trying to say, and they weren't taking the advice, and I was just I was frustrated about that, and I was just really sad. But at the same time, it was you can't force a situation that's not going to work, and it feels like, oh, I failed when I'm sharing this story with you because I really wanted to make this work and volunteer for this organization.
Sure.
But it's going to happen. Like you said, if something doesn't feel right or if it's not a fit, you'll find another place for your volunteerism or some other charity or organization that you could share on your blog. It's okay.
Yeah. And it also doesn't mean that that's a permanent no. It just means that right now it's not the right time, and that's okay.
Yep.
Ann Paris says, I am very touched by Betsy's mission. I'm an Army brat and an Air Force mom, and I've seen up close Julie do amazing work with her cookies for years.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you, Ann.
Karen Provost said, excellent points. Let us see. Let's talk a little bit about, this was actually kind of you guys have kind of been talking around this and giving great points on this the whole time, but how do you balance the needs of your blog with your charitable work and your personal life? Where do you find the time? And again, not pouring from an empty cup, being able to fulfill your responsibilities, but also do these things that feed your soul and help other people.
Yeah, my blog is going to be 10 years old in December, and I take blogging breaks, and there'll be a few weeks where I don't blog, and I kind of don't care. It's okay, and I don't come back and say, oh, I know y'all have missed me, or I'm sorry I haven't been posting. It's like that really, it's okay to take a break. You really do have to take a break. Like right now, I have been dealing with stuff with my neck and doing a lot of physical therapy. And then my dog's doing physical therapy. I realized we're on the same kind of medications. It's kind of funny, but you do have to take care of yourself. But one thing that I've realized, and it's funny, it took me this long to realize, you really make room and time for what's important to you. And sometimes you make room for the wrong things. But we really literally, when someone tells me, I'm like, oh, you want to go do this thing or you want to help me? And they say, I don't have time for that. And I used to get upset about that. I'm like, well, they don't have time for that. But if it's something that would help them, you realize they're shutting themselves off to something that could be helpful to them. Kind of like when I was trying to talk to that charity about helping them with Instagram and giving them ideas, and they totally were shut off to all the ideas. But really, heeding those words and knowing that when you make time for something, that means it's important to you. And if you don't make time for it, it's not important to you. So you just find the time to do it. You just do.
Isn't that just like the basis for he's just not that into you?
Funny story. And the reason why I really say those words is I'm going off a tangent here, but I was on a bus.
Which never happens when I'm talking to Betsy and Julie.
Was it last year? I was on this bus going across the state, and I talked to everybody. I was talking to the bus driver, and I had a realization after he told me the story. He was in the military, and he would, like, every weekend he would drive 5 hours to see his girlfriend. And now, Angel, please just give me another minute. Basically, he would drive 5 hours to see her for 1 hour. And they've been married for like 20, 30 years. I don't remember exactly how many years. And his buddies would make fun of him and say, you can get anybody. Why are you driving 5 hours to see her for 1 hour and drive 5 hours back? And then he did this like look while he was driving the bus. He's driving the bus and he goes, I guess you just make time for what's important. And I was like, oh my God, I just had an epiphany with the bus driver who is, a veteran. And I was just so grateful for that moment. And and I realized, so when I pick something up and do something, I'm like, okay, well, is this important? It's not. I'm making time for something that's not important, but it's kind of like that movie, like she's not into you, kind of.
Yeah. Ann Paris said shiny object syndrome. Not everything good or even great is for you.
Oh gosh.
Very true.
Yes.
Very, very true. Okay. So we've mentioned some of the small things, but let's kind of just run down a little checklist. Teaching classes, running a big fundraiser, some of those could feel overwhelming at this point for some people, and they may not have the space in their life for it. But let's just kind of reiterate some of those small things that people can do to get involved, other than working with either one of you on your awesome work.
For me, I always found that when I'm choosing what I'm going to blog about, like how can I incorporate something I'm passionate about into a blog that I'm already going to write? So throughout my journey, I found that do I have an event coming up, that I need to bake something for, can I turn that into a blog post, but use that opportunity to advocate for whatever it is that I'm donating that item to. So I think, thinking about your content in a way that can be like, you have this great platform as a blogger.
Yeah.
Use it to advocate for the things that you are passionate about. And I kind of did that for a long time before I even realized that that's what I was doing. So I think that's a really easy way for bloggers to kind of do this work is through what they're already doing. Just kind of put a little thought into how you can incorporate your passions of philanthropy into a blog post you're already going to be writing.
Love it. And it sounds like a lot of double dipping, a lot of like dual purpose.
Yeah.
For multiple, and you're doing it. Why not do it for this? It's like shopping on Amazon for your favorite cause. Like you're going to shop on Amazon, pick a cause.
Exactly. Well, and that's great too. Like, why not have your Amazon, page set up for this certain recipe that you're doing, that all the money you make from that goes to XYZ cause, or, you could even say, something as simple on your blog as, okay, 10% of my ad revenue for the month of November for Veterans Day is going to go to XYZ charity. Mm-hmm. And then that encourages people to come to your website, or maybe you have a group of bloggers that's going to do that together and you do a joint contribution. So, you don't have to create anything new to give back. You could use what you already have to give back.
Yeah. And along those lines, Betsy, I've seen bloggers do something where if I get so many comments on this blog post, I'll start donating $1 per comment up to certain amount. And you can talk about your cause, share something that's related. Say if your blog is a food blog, share a recipe, talk about the charity and then why you're supporting them, and then tell them what you're doing. I've seen it like however many retweets I get, I'll donate 50 or whatever. In
the military blogging community, I'm starting to build with Operation Gratitude kind of, an ambassador program. So military related bloggers that are interested in advocating for Operation Gratitude, we're creating kind of like what we do for sponsored paid posts, but it will be, kind of the blogger giving of their time in a blog post, but they, I'm building a network of military bloggers that want to write about these issues directly related to Operation Gratitude. So looking for those kind of, opportunities as well within your niche is an easy way to do things too.
I think that all of those are amazing suggestions and great ways to take what you're already doing and repurpose it and direct it into a great focus.
And isn't that what Mediavine says? Like, let the ads work harder for you. Don't work harder. What is whatever Amber says all the time?
We talk about reducing
work smarter, not harder.
Reducing your work and upcycling your content.
Yes.
So that's a lot of what we talk about there, and a lot of that's with the RPM challenge and just bettering what you already have. It doesn't always have to be reinventing the wheel, and we get that life happens. So figure out ways to make things work for themselves. So how do you keep your causes on brand with your blog? And I know a lot of that is going to be related to that authenticity that both of you have been talking so much about, but is there a way to keep that really tied to each other, and also to respond to people who might say that they didn't come to a food blog to read about the causes, which happens. I mean, how do you respond to that?
Just the same way that Julie does, is I don't care. I mean, it's delete and block, it's that kind of thing. I don't have time for the negativity. So that's how I choose to handle it. And I found that, to be honest, I don't get a lot of that because I've been so transparent about who I am as a content creator for so long that people know what they're getting when they come to my website or my social media platforms. So, I try to remain positive all of the time instead of, responding back negatively to somebody in a comment. I just delete and block and move on, and I create a space that is positive, and I want to remain that way.
Julie?
I agree. A lot of times.
I thought that was going to be it. You're going to be like,
no.
Yes.
All of that.
I don't usually get negative comments in relation to the Cookies for Kids Cancer fundraising. But if I get, I don't, it's the same thing like Betsy. Like, my blog is very authentic to me. Like, I recently, was it this year, last year, I got some emails. Do you want to sell your blog? And I'm like, well, I would be selling like all my stories.
Right.
I've written about like my health conditions, struggling with, losing my pet, and it's very authentic to me. And so I think it's very easy. Like, it sounds funny to say on brand. It's on brand for me to share something.
No, it is the Julie brand, right? That's what it is. You are a brand, Julie. So
the little kitchen is Julie, it's not this other thing over there. And so if someone is negative, then they're dissing me. No, they can go away. I mean, I just had someone do a nastygram on my Facebook page. And what I did is I was like, what? I'm just going to kill him with kindness, but I want to share it with my friends because I really want my friends who are not bloggers to realize that a lot of our income comes from our ads, and to not get annoyed when you go to say, or to realize that, also when you go to news sites and magazine sites, they have a lot of ads too. So it is what it is. And, I make no apologies, and if someone they don't really like my writing style, or they don't like what I'm writing about, there's so many other blogs.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, there are enough people to go around as well to visit our blog. So, my point of view is that if XYZ number of people don't like my blog, well, there are ABC number of people who do. So I focus on the people that do appreciate me and what I'm doing, and, kind of nurture them and our community.
Yes.
Sashay away, RuPaul. Right. So hold on a minute. Well, and frankly, just to kind of share this, what jerk face is like, don't post about kids' cancer or military spouses and injured warriors. Like, come on.
I know.
Come on.
There's not really, but I think that there's going to be some charities where people will say something. Sure. And I think that, like, that's fine. So go somewhere else. You know? We don't like a commercial on TV. We could change the channel. And I want to say that to people, like, in regards to blogging too. Like, if you don't like what you see, just keep scrolling or go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it sounds very flippant, but it's true.
Yeah.
But if you're going to put yourself out there and be brave to do that, you can't. You cannot let some one person or two people. Yeah, it's not.
So here's the thing. Like, I've written about, my husband's war experiences, how it's affected me, our marriage, like almost to the point of devastation. I've talked about him being suicidal and, all of the horribleness that goes with that. And I did get, of course you will get negativity, but then there are those people that comment that say, Betsy, you saved my husband because I read your blog post and I noticed the signs in him. right? And I was able to get him to the hospital when he needed help. Or Betsy, if you wouldn't have shared how lonely you were feeling, I thought I was alone in this, but you shared how horribly lonely it is to be a caregiver. And now I feel like I'm not alone anymore. So we have to share what's important to us, and we have to share because there are people that need to hear it.
I completely agree. I have stories like that too, where I've shared stuff that were deeply personal that I never thought I would share publicly. My friends all know about it, but it was, about my childhood, and I couldn't believe the response I got. And it sounds kind of selfish a little bit because I was trying to not feel alone, but then other people didn't feel alone too. It's talking about being vulnerable and sharing. And I love how my dog is really trying to inject humor into this because she won't stop barking. Or if you guys can't hear it, I'll just act like I don't hear her.
Oh, we hear it now. We do. We hear Angel.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. But Julie, that is you, right? Your dogs are part of you and your life. And
oh my gosh, yes.
So,
yes.
And those are one of the things that we
I always say, love me, love my dogs. If my dogs don't like you, you need to get out of the house.
So, ladies, unfortunately, this hour has beyond flown by.
Oh my goodness.
However, I want to ask you a couple of the last question. I always give everyone a little bit of time to think about. So I want to know how we can help you with your personal missions, because I know some people are feeling led to do that. And also what is up next for both of you with your blogs and with your charity work. And I'm going to read a couple of comments really quickly. And then I'm going to say what's going on next week, and I'll come back to both of you. Diana Hansen, she said, I have been blogging on my first blog because I should. I have not been excited about my content at all, and it gets little traffic. You two have inspired me to find a passion and not worry about creating new content. I am very proud of my second camping blog. We are hosting a camping rally next year, and I'm going to weave a charitable component into it.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
That is awesome.
Diana.
Tina Stevens Brown says, what? Who could say something negative about what you do, Julie? Melinda Collins said, it's interesting that you mentioned this. The haters are what have kept me from writing a blog. It's hard. It's scary. It's brave to do what you guys do, for sure. For sure. Okay. So next week, this has been an incredible hour, and I'm so grateful to these amazing ladies for being with me. Next week, we are talking with Valerie Stemick and Jen Ruiz about book publishing. We're going to be talking about digital book publishing. We're going to be talking about physical book publishing. We're going to be next Thursday, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. We're super excited about it. That's the 11th. We'll be obviously promoting that coming up. And I want to hear from both of these ladies before we sign off. Let's start with Betsy. Tell us what is going on, what's up next, and how we can help you.
So there are so many things that I can't list them, right? But just know that I am heading to about a dozen cities in the next year. And I would love any bloggers that want to come out and have hands-on volunteerism opportunities in cities across the country. With the military and veteran caregiver community to reach out with me. And then also, if you're interested in teaching the blogging workshops to the military and veteran community, helping them find their voice, please reach out to me as well there. And thank you so much, Jenny, for having me again.
You guys are, yeah. And Julie, real quick, before I get emotional, Julie.
I would love how people can help they can go to Cookies for Kids Cancer. I think it's Cookies for Susanna will put the link in there. I can't remember.
Well, we can drop it.
You can organize a bake sale. You could sign up for our event and if you're a crafting or food blogger, or if you're not and you want to figure out a way to participate too, send me an email. It's julie@thelittlekitchen.net. I would love to have as many bloggers, just because the power of blogging and talking to your readers about this amazing cause, the awareness is just as important as the money that we're raising.
Agreed.
And then the next thing that I'm working on is, so last year I launched a t-shirt design to fundraise for the Valentine's Day event. We're going to do another t-shirt design. And then I'm just doing stuff on the little kitchen too. So
awesome. Well, to two of my favorite people, thank you so much. This has been one of the best hours we've ever had. I love both of you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Everyone in the audience, thank you for sharing and for listening to us, and have a really wonderful 4th of July. Happy birthday, America.
Happy 4th.
Bye, ladies.
Thanks, Mediavine.
Bye.